Hey guys, welcome to your fourth XNA game development tutorial. In this tutorial I'm just going to go over a few things about opening projects, saving projects, where to find all your projects, and then after that I'm going to go over a few more variable types. Um, so first thing we want to do is just go to File, Open Project, and it'll probably ask you to either save or discard whatever you have open. Let's go to save. You can it'll probably just give you whatever name you called it before, and that's probably what you'll want. And just create save, and make sure you have create directly for solution checked, because otherwise it'll just kind of put all your files into this folder. But you want to make a new folder for that. So just click save. Alright, so now we're opening a project here, and all your projects are located in the Visual Studio 2010 folder, in your My Documents folder. So let's actually go go to Start, go to Computer or whatever, and then find your My Documents folder. So what I'm going to do is just click on my profile, go to My Documents, and then you'll just find the Visual Studio 2010 folder. And if you go to projects, you'll find all your projects, and here we have our console application one that we saved just a minute ago. And if you go to that, then you can open it later. So if you double click that, it'll open a new thing, and there it is. But what we want to do is probably the easier way, is just go to File, Open Project, and then here's all our projects. So you can find your console application one, double click the folder, and you'll just see here Microsoft Visual Studio Solution. And here we go, back to where we started. And that's exactly what we want. So now I'm going to go over a few different types of variables. At first it can be kind of confusing when you're working with numbers. Before I went over the integer type, so in my integer, and we can assign it a value. We can say equals 1, and then so this is an integer. Now if we went ahead and did let's do .1. Now this is going to give us an error because an integer cannot have any decimal points. So instead of that, let's get rid of our errors by deleting that. We're going to create a new type, and we're going to call this a double, or it is a double, and we're going to call it my double. And we can say either equals 1. It doesn't have to have a decimal point, and a double basically is a number that can have like a bunch of decimal points. So let's give it a couple now. So 1.123. So now you'll see we don't have any errors down here, just warnings. So that's fine. And there's also one other kind of number type you'll be working with, and that's called a float. Say my float. And with floats, they can sometimes be a little annoying because you have to, again, you can just put an integer in here and it'll be totally fine with no errors. But if you want to add a decimal point, so you want point 123, like our double up there, that's going to give us an error because you have to put an F after it, and that'll tell us that it's a float and not a double, because the computer can get those mixed up. So remember, whenever you create a float that has a decimal places, you need to put an F after. And with the double, and floats take up less memory, and that's why we use them over doubles sometimes. But you'll just remember you'll need that f. Oh, and one thing that I didn't go over before is that the reason we have types is because it tells us our computer how much memory we need to give it. And integers take up less space than doubles and floats and stuff. And it's basically just for efficiency. And also, it tells us what functions we can use from that that variable or object we created. But don't worry about the functions right now. Just remember that different types have different amounts of memory allocated to them. Alright, so let's go over writing to the screen again. But first, we can just build it here. No errors, it runs fine. Close that. And so let's go over writing to the screen again. So do console dot write line. You'll see you'll have write and write line. Basically what write does is it doesn't put any, write line puts it everything you put in it on a new line, and while write just kind of, actually I'll show you what I mean. So let's do console.write my integer, and then we can actually have two of these. So let's do it, call it again, and whenever you this is called calling a function, and you're basically just using it. That's what I mean by call. So do write again and do my double. So we have two of these writes, so it'll write both of them to the screen. So let's click start without debugging. And what you'll see here is that everything is on the same line, and that's what I mean by how write line puts everything on a new line. So it's just all on one line now. So you'll have 1, that's our my integer, and then 1.123 is the double we made. So let's close that, and then instead we can put write line, and then run that again, and then you'll see everything's on a different line. So that's why we'll usually want to use that instead. Okay. So now we can write everything to the screen just to get some practice. And there, oh, yeah, and see how these ones are in different lines, and then this one still has the press any key to continue on it. And so that's just showing you how to do that. Okay, and one more thing I'm gonna go over. This can get a little confusing. It's not as confusing as it seems, but it's just sometimes a little annoying to work with numbers. And when you actually face a real example in our games, you might wonder why you're getting certain errors and stuff. And that's if like functions sometimes take. Actually, I don't want to go over that now. But I'm just going to tell you how to convert one variable, one type of number into a different type. So say we want an integer, but we have a double, but we want to turn it into an integer. What we're going to have to do is something called casting. And that's basically what casting is just turning one type of variable into a different type. So what we want to do is do my integer equals, so we want actually let's do my double equals okay. Now so you only want to do this when you're converting a double into an integer. So we'll say my integer equals 1.222, and that's a double, and that'll give us an error. But what you need to do is turn it into an integer. What you do is open parentheses, int, and then close parentheses, and you'll see our errors are gone. and now it's an int. And when you're casting a double into an integer, what's going to do is cut off all this, and we're just going to be left with 1. So we can run that, no errors. But let's do console.write line my integer, and run that, and you'll see it's 1, and it'll just cut off whatever is past that decimal point. And let's see if we put like a 9 there, it'll still be 1 because it doesn't actually round, it just cuts it off. Like no matter what it is, it won't round up to 2 or anything. And what we can do also is do my float, and remember how we needed that f there, and now we'll get an error because we don't have that f, the float, or just the f, I guess. But if we cast it into a different number type, or a double that doesn't need that f, then we get an error. That's because I'm doing this wrong. That's because, wait, hold on. Oh, I forgot what I just said. Yeah, so you'll most likely just want to cast doubles into ints, or sometimes you don't have to worry about this now, but different functions take different types of numbers, and you'll have to cast them into whatever number type that the function is taking. But yeah, I'll show you an example of that like later on when we get into game development. In the next tutorial, I'm gonna go over what some of this stuff means right here, like namespace, class. I might go into functions, but that might be in a later tutorial. And don't worry about the using stuff right now. We'll go over that a bit later. Okay, till next time.